Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Oh, the Illblurmatic. Welcome back to Illblurmatic, the illest blur in the land. Welcome back, old subscribers, new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Let's get right into it. So today's episode review is going to be on Hawkeye, episode 3. This series is only on Disney Plus, so let's get right into it. So this episode starts off with Maya, the villain that we saw in the last episode, but not the Maya that we're familiar with. We see a much younger Maya, and literally her being in school, and her being the only deaf kid at the school, but also she's very smart. So we see a younger version of the villain. We also learn who her father is. Her father is pretty much someone that she holds dear to her heart. She loves her father. We see that, but there are differences between her and her father. Her father, promised her that she'll be at school with all deaf kids, but also Maya has another disability. She pretty much is like handicapped, where she has a plastic foot and leg. Also, we are introduced to Maya, and we see another side of her. We see that she's a bright student. Despite her being alienated, she feels like she doesn't relate to the other students due to her being deaf. But on top of that, we see her get it down in karate. I said, wow. We see her pretty much, her father saying, hey, look, good luck. And we see this big black kid that's literally he defeated the first opponent, not Maya. Maya, she took him down. I said, wow. But also, we are introduced to another character that's like an uncle figure. Sounds like Kingpin to me, if you ask me. Like, the suit was kind of like the dead giveaway. I'm sorry. I'm like, is it Kingpin? Huh? Is it Kingpin? Is it Kingpin? So I got a feeling that the uncle is probably Kingpin. But also we see Maya, this goes forward into when she's an adult. She's a fierce fighter, man. Like, she's in a boxing ring, taking people out. The guy that she's fighting against. But also we see her story builds up. We see why she has a hatred for Ronin. So what happens is Maya goes to the hideout of the Tracksuit Mafia. We see her father. Well, before we see her father get killed, we see Ronin killing Tracksuit Mafia members left and right. And we see her go inside the building. And what is going on? Her father is pretty much about to die. He says some things to her in sign language because, let's face it, Maya is deaf. So there's some sign language going on in this episode. I like the fact that they stuck with the truancy of Maya's character from the comics. So that's really cool. I like that Marvel really kind of kept it authentic with that. Also in this episode, we see pretty much Hawkeye, also known as Clint, and Kate Bishop still at the Tracksuit Mafia's hideout, and pretty much at KB Toys. KB Toys is their hideout. I'm like, bruh. But in this episode, we see pretty much the Tracksuit Mafia members talking to Kate and pretty much Hawkeye. Hawkeye say, hey, look, I was trying to like really help you out. Like, you was wearing a suit, but you weren't killing people. He's like, I was trying to make you, be innocent, and then you come and try to rescue me, and we see Kate and him having their little conversations, their differences that they have. But also we are introduced to now Maya, and Maya is not happy. So pretty much we see Maya and one of her underlings pretty much talk to he's like the interpreter for Maya, and pretty much seems like a close friend to Maya of the Tracksuit Mafia. And we literally see pretty much them talking, and pretty much Maya is not having it. She know that Hawkeye has something to do with her father's death. He said, you're lying. She did the little sign language, like, yeah, you lying. And he, he's like, nah, Black Widow killed him. Like, come on, Hawkeye, come on, bruh. Didn't know Black Widow killed no Ronin. Come on, man. But hey, at least he tried to like cover up his footsteps. And then I think the other reason why is like he doesn't want to let Kate down, But I think eventually Kate's gonna find out that he's running. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it's funny because when Kate's confronted by Maya, Maya's like, I want to kill you type of vibe. I'm like, whoa. We see pretty much Maya almost trying to take Kate out the game. Like, no, you can't take her out the game this quick. And literally we see that, Clint say, hey, look, she's not the one that did this, da, da, da. But the crazy thing is, luckily, her buddy that's doing the sign language for it, so like, hey, you may not want to kill people. Just look, we already got a reputation, okay? Like, let's not try to kill this person off. And pretty much what happens is Clint, also known as Hawkeye, escapes. And I love this scene because we see him like get away from the Tracksuit Mafia guys at the old KB Toys place. And literally we see Hawkeye and Maya duke it out. I like the choreography in this episode. Like, boy, Hawkeye had a challenge this time, boy. Maya was no joke. Like, I'm like, oh boy. I was sitting there saying to myself, like, uh-oh. And then what I love about Maya's character. She's very analytical. So she knew that Hawkeye had a disability. He can't really hear in one of his ears. And when they were fighting, I like that we saw her kind of having the advantage of him. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's good to see the villain have the advantage against the hero. And literally, she broke his hearing aid. But also in this episode, we see them fight. Like, we see him shooting the arrows. It seemed like this part of the episode was really cool because it looked like they really put some thought into it. Like, it didn't look superficial, like archery or anything. Like, they really took some quality and practice into archery. So I really did like that aspect of this episode too. Also, we see Clint and Kate. He rescues Kate before leaving the Tracksuit Mafia's hideout, and they end up getting in the car. But who's right behind them? The Tracksuit Mafia. And what I like about this is the scenes, like the car scenes in this episode were really cool. Like just the different like stunts and stuff they pull. I love like literally that Kate is literally the person that's pretty much doing the arrows this time. You know, Clint had some of his time when he was going against Maya, which was really cool. But literally I like how pretty much Kate pretty much is like shooting the arrows and she's learning the difference between the arrows while Clint is driving the car off. And this scene is very iconic. I like how they have a scene in this episode where they kind of like literally shoot an arrow together and it's like this big arrow. I was like, holy crap. I was like, wow. But like literally Kate learning which arrows do what. One arrow shoots liquid. One arrow is a plunger arrow. I don't know why all archers, like superheroes, have a plunger arrow. They had an explosive arrow that Kate ends up using in this episode, which I thought was like, oh, Kate, you accidentally killed some civilians. Well, not necessarily civilians, they were criminals, in this episode. So I did like that aspect of it. But let's get right back into this. So literally, after they escape the Tracksuit Mafia, Clint calls his wife up to let him know what's going on. Literally not the wife, excuse me, the son calls him up, I meant to say. The son calls him up and everything. And literally the son, Kate's being the interpreter because after all, he lost his hearing aid. Maya broke it. Literally. And, she's referring the message to him and everything. So I did like that aspect of this episode. Also, in this episode, we see that they finally named the dog. They end up returning to Kate's apartment sometime in this episode. And literally, we see Kate literally naming the dog Lucky that loves pizza. So eventually, we see after this that Kate and pretty much Hawkeye end up going to her mother's place. And, we see that there are differences. Like Clint, also known as Hawkeye, I really understand that you admire me as a hero. I'm not this flashy, glamorous hero. I'm not trying to do this for the glory of being a hero type of thing. I just want to get this out the way, figure out what's going on. And, we can see that Kate still has a big admiration for him. This is someone she really looks up to. And Clint is like, I don't want that type of title. Like, I understand that you have a big admiration for me and everything. But also, when they get to their mother's place, he, goes looking around, and who is there? Her mom's soon-to-be husband, Jack. And Jack has the Ronin blade or sword. that he has, and he's pretty much like trying to kill Clint. So that's how this episode ends off. I gotta say, I like this episode, the fighting choreography, the side language, the Trash Suit Mafia's history a little bit, because now we know that pretty much Maya's father was the leader, previous leader of the Trash Suit Mafia. So I did like that aspect of it. I like pretty much that they show her backstory. Like, I like when they have a villain episode where they show like the backstory of the villain. I think that's really cool. We started to see that a little bit more with superhero shows. And I like that because we could understand the villain's story and why Maya is the way she is, why she has a vengeance for Ronin. And it's crazy that she knew that Ronin was that. But also, I forgot to mention one thing. Clint mentioned that it's bigger trouble, so I'm assuming that pretty much her uncle may, in fact, may be Kingpin. So this is my episode review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, guys, have a great one. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for rocking with me. Until next time, guys, have a great one. And you already know what time it is. We getting them subs up. Until next time, guys, take care. Next time, oh yeah, Illblurmatic.